Today is Wednesday, November 8th, 2023, and this is the Dunkley Report. Today is Wednesday, November 8th, 2023, and this is the Dunkley Report. The Israeli army says its forces are battling Hamas fighters inside Gaza's largest city, signaling a major new stage a month into a war that has claimed thousands of lives and leveled swaths of the territory. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says Israel is likely to maintain control of security in Gaza once Hamas is defeated. The move into Gaza City risks a further escalation in casualties. Netanyahu's comments point to the uncertainty surrounding the endgame of a war that Israel says will go on for some time until it destroys Hamas rule. A Hamas spokesperson, speaking Tuesday from Beirut, denied that Israeli forces were making any significant military gains, or that they had advanced deep into Gaza City. The Lebanese militia Hezbollah has traded fire with Israeli troops along the border since the day after Hamas's October 7th surprise attack in southern Israel sparked war in the Gaza Strip. Both sides have suffered casualties, but the fear is that the conflict will escalate and spiral into a regional fight. In his first public speech since the outbreak of the Israel-Hamas war, Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah said Friday that the paramilitary force had already entered the battle on October 8th, but stopped short of saying Hezbollah would more fully join the fight. Though it's an off-year general election, races across the country will have far-reaching implications for 2024 and beyond. For example, there are 2 races that are determining state governors. Other races will provide insight into how abortion rights are shaping American politics. Some contests, such as Pennsylvania's Supreme Court race, could play a significant role in voting-related cases during the 2024 presidential campaign. There could also be some historic firsts, as in Rhode Island, which could elect its first black representative to Congress. Ohio voters have approved a constitutional amendment that guarantees the right to abortion and other forms of reproductive health care. The outcome of Tuesday's intense off-year election was the latest blow for abortion opponents. It follows a string of defeats in statewide votes since the U.S. Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade last year. Approval of Ohio's Issue 1 highlighted the divide between Ohio voters and the Republicans who control every lever of statewide political power. President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris issued statements celebrating the amendment's win. Republicans and anti-abortion groups were defiant in defeat. One GOP lawmaker said the legislature has multiple paths for exploring abortion restrictions. The Supreme Court seems likely to preserve a federal law that prohibits people under domestic violence restraining orders from having guns. The justices on Tuesday suggested they'll reverse a ruling from an appeals court in New Orleans that struck down the 1994 ban on firearms for people under court order to stay away from their spouses or partners. It's the court's first guns case since last year's expansion of gun rights. Liberal and conservative justices sounded persuaded by arguments from the Biden administration's top Supreme Court lawyer that the prohibition is in line with the long-standing practice of disarming dangerous people. The case involves a Texas man who was accused of threatening to shoot his girlfriend. The prosecutor overseeing the Hunter Biden investigation has testified for nearly 7 hours before congressional investigators, saying he had ultimate authority over the years-long case. The closed-door interview on Tuesday marks the first time a special counsel is appearing before Congress in the middle of a probe. It comes as House Republicans are aiming to ramp up their impeachment inquiry into the president and his family after weeks of stalemate. Members of the House Judiciary Committee questioned David Weiss on allegations that was not the decision-maker in the case into the president's son, and that the probe was influenced by political pressure. A spokesperson for Weiss calls his testimony unprecedented. California authorities are seeking help as they investigate the death of a 69-year-old Jewish man after a confrontation at a pro-Palestinian demonstration. The Ventura County Sheriff's Department says Paul Kessler died Monday at a hospital from a head injury, a day after the demonstration in Thousand Oaks, northwest of Los Angeles. An autopsy determined he suffered head trauma, and the medical examiner says the injuries are consistent with a fall. The Sheriff's Department says it hasn't ruled out the possibility of a hate crime and is asking for video footage from anyone there. The Air Force is asking Congress to restrict further construction of the towering wind turbines that have edged closer to its nuclear missile sites in Montana, Wyoming, North Dakota, Nebraska, and Colorado. The underground silos share space on vast private farmlands with the turbines, which have grown in size and number as the country's energy needs have increased. But the turbines make it dangerous for military helicopter crews, which need to fly in low and fast when a site alarm triggers. The Air Force wants Congress to pass legislation to create a buffer zone of 2 nautical miles around each site. The legislation has the support of wind energy advocates. Existing towers would be unaffected. Syphilis cases in U.S. newborns again are on the rise. It has health officials calling for new measures to stop the increase, including encouraging millions of sexually active women of childbearing age and their partners to get tested. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention says more than 3,700 babies were born with congenital syphilis in 2022. That's 10 times more than a decade ago, and a 32% increase from 2021. CDC officials say there needs to be expanded testing. The agency also suggests starting syphilis treatment as soon as a pregnant woman tests positive. On the same day, whistleblower Frances Haugen was testifying before Congress about the harms of Facebook and Instagram to children in the fall of 2021, Arturo Bayar, then a contractor at the social media giant, sent an email to Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg about the same topic. 2 years later, after seeing little change, Bayar is testifying before Congress on Tuesday about social media and the teen mental health crisis, hoping to shed more light on what Meta executives, including Zuckerberg, knew about the harms Instagram was causing and chose not to do anything about it. Today's news was reported by the Associated Press. This has been the World News for Wednesday, November 8th, 2023. Thanks again for joining us at The Dunkley Report.